The food production industry is a multifaceted, global growing industry that forms a core role in the economic growth for many countries around the world. Whilst the future is very uncertain and there are many possibilities, there is one certainty. The rate of growth of the food production industry must increase to match the growth in population. The successful development of the food industry is achieved by creating permanent and sustainable solutions that aim to address the scarcity of limited resources. With this understanding, we developed a set of 4 scenarios that we believe anticipate the future of the food production industry in line with 2 critical uncertainties: population growth and technology. These 4 scenarios were developed using the Quest scenario planning framework, which involves the formulation of scenarios based on questions, issues, and influences in a 5-stage process. Our 4 scenarios, which we would discuss further in length, are lost land, global tensions, old school, and tech takeover.
In terms of food production quality across the globe, Australia has one of the highest quality farming land available, regarding currently having the right amount of minerals within the soil, which produces high quality and fresh produce that consumers of Australia as well as other parts of the world enjoys. However, there are various threats that can and are currently having a significant impact on these fertile lands. Factors such as harsh weather conditions like droughts or extreme changes in temperature are having a negative effect on how long these farming lands used for fresh produce can be maintained. Although unpredictable and in most cases uncontrollable, can be well prepared for, such as constructing permanent greenhouses so that fresh produce can still be grown, as well as having the added safety of being protected by most weather conditions and natural erosion of the soil. The need for other methods of growing and harvesting Australian fresh produce, especially if consumers become more health conscious within the near future, as the once natural fertile farmlands become too damaged due to the rise in acidity levels, can be used to meet the demand of Australian consumers.
A currently occurring phenomenon is driverless vehicles. Drastic breakthroughs in such technology have led to the implementation of such ideas into farming practices on a radical scale, and driverless technology has become a normality in the food production industry. Beginning with the implementation of driverless tractors, this phenomenon has expanded to the majority of agricultural processes. This innovative approach has hugely impacted the time, cost, and efficiency of farming, and altered the skills necessary for a career in the food production industry. Using the Pestle model of analysis, we can see the obvious decrease in human capital required for food production inevitably leads to a huge decrease in overhead costs for farming. This drastic change in what used to be unavoidable expenses could lead to governmental budget cuts to the farming sector, if they are deemed to be an unnecessary outlay in the distribution of administrative funding. The strong nationalistic imperative of Australians could lead to purchasing boycotts due to social anxieties surrounding the drastic unemployment increases, and the social construct of looking after Aussie farmers will cease to exist, with farming being taken over by corporations with abundant monetary resources. The changes in technology would need to be monitored to ensure the most efficient processes are being utilised. Furthermore, maintenance will be an overbearing consideration. Notwithstanding the need to budget for the costs of maintenance, the risks associated with an over-reliance on machinery and operations could pose significant threats to the financial security of the agricultural sector. Due to the fact that people are no longer directly operating the machinery, the construct of licensing will need to be altered. Typical operating licenses would be a thing of the past. However, machinery will still require a license for supervision. In order for an individual to own such machinery, they must gain a license through demonstration of their ability to externally operate, monitor, and react to situations, as even in a technological age, there must still be human responsibility.
This scenario focuses on the implications of the nationwide ban on bleeding-edge technology, which has been imposed upon the Australian food production sector. The nationwide ban has been developed due to the new mutations formulated used to develop GMO livestock produce. This has had major repercussions for younger children aged 2 to 10. Agribusinesses are concerned with profit maximization with their constantly updated technology, and thus have been disregarding their ethical obligations to pursue efficiency. It has forced the food production sector to backpedal and resort to a solely traditional way of farming, which is created consequent ramifications for a society that has been increasingly dependent on technology in enhancing the quality of life. Australia's society has been impacted severely as the cost of goods has dramatically inflated as the food production industry suffers a steep decline in employment. Given the nationwide ban on technology, Australia cannot supply as much contracted canola, beef produce, and wheat to countries like China and Turkey as previously done before. Government regulation has become more stringent in light of this new nationwide ban, as the modernized method of farming utilized previously was deemed unfeasible for long-term sustainability. This has created political strife as the government and large agri-businesses in the industry look at more sustainable solutions that can be implemented on a long-term basis for the food production industry, which also fulfills environmental and sustainability goals.
800 million tons of food is wasted per year as a byproduct, meaning excessive wastage and industrialization of resources during the distribution and industrial production process. Technology has significantly advanced and enabled business to be more efficient in their process and has aided in reducing wastage drastically. The food industry depends directly on the technological advances when it comes to global tension issues. From an environmental perspective, Australia has specific lands that can work in a good or a bad way for food industry. Being the driest continent in the world have made of Australia one of the more vulnerable places when it comes to natural disasters such as cyclones, hurricanes, and more. On the other hand, Australia is also a land that can densify the usual, counting with plenty of technological projects that use natural resources at its best. Lands that, if people use them properly, the infrastructure of the future might be one of the best in the world. Australia's food industry has been creating strong and strategic relationships between countries which have encountered incremental growth. The Department of Agriculture and Water Resources is tasked with managing the strict regulation that is implemented for the food production sector. This includes developing competitive agricultural and food value chain policies and food regulation reforms. Having Asia as a great friend can only position Australia in a very promising scenario for the food industry production.